Martin Greenhow is the director of Mojo's in Leeds. He's got 5 late night bars, including ones in Leeds and Harrogate. We've spoken to Martin quite a few times on the show during all of these lockdown periods we've been in. His business would be directly affected if so-called vaccine passport system was brought in. Good afternoon, Martin. Welcome back to the show.
Good afternoon, Steph. Delighted to be here.
Great to have you back on. So, I mean, would a vaccine passport work when it comes to being allowed into bars like yours?
Would it work? I suppose that would depend on the system. Should it be allowed? That's an entirely different question. Personally, I think anybody would assume that somebody in hospitality's initial reaction to this situation would be whatever gets the doors open is a good thing. And I'm sure there are many people who feel that way, but I'm not one of them. My concerns really revolve around 3 elements. The first of which is practicality, and I think there's various pieces to that. You know, there's how easy is it to forge this sort of passport. We're talking about something that's everything from a phone app through to a piece of cardboard. Well, you know, I've got an 11-year-old in the house that can pretty much fake anything digitally, not to mention anything that's on card. The second one, operationally, I think it will inevitably lead to confrontation, where you'll have groups of people and there'll be the one soul in it that doesn't have the ability to prove, and that's going to cause arguments, which is counterproductive. And this is the real big one for me, which when we talk about practicality. And I'm not saying that we would abide by any rules, any laws that are brought in, but the real huge practical element of this is the vast majority of our audience, so the vast majority of people who are going out, drinking and eating are under 35, and so are our staff, and they can't get vaccinated. So, you know, luckily we won't have any customers, but we won't have any staff, so it won't be a problem. You can then you can talk about the necessity of the situation, and regardless of whatever Excel origami is being done at the moment to justify things, there is no evidence whatsoever to support hospitality driving infection. So, you know, that comes back to many instances now where the government's been challenged to prove this. You know, we had that with the Scotch egg gate. We had it with curfew, and in these instances, the government have had to concede the position where they simply didn't have justification. And I think we're going to see that again this week, where you've got Sacha Lord and Hugh Osmond, isn't it? Sorry, challenging them regarding delaying opening of hospitality beyond non-essential retail. So, if that's the case, you know, you don't need to do it. There's no reason to do it. It's impractical to do it. And finally, for me, is the morality of the situation. I think, you know, my staff have got no business asking you to provide personal medical records. It's just not something we should be doing. And I'd be damned if people should have to produce that to simply go somewhere for a drink or a meal. And remember, you know, we're getting into a situation here where I think Charles mentioned, you know, there's been quotes where we could be seeing a 2-tier society evolving from this, where, you know, some people, it may be because of physical reasons, there may be a health reason. I know that some people with certain allergies can't receive a vaccine. We may have other people with religious reasons where they won't take a vaccine. We may have some that just don't want a vaccine. And these people are effectively being shuttered into being a second-class citizen. And it begs the question for me, you know, what do we do next? Are we going to make these people live in different areas? Are we going to be forming, you know, vaccine ghettos? I'm really worried that it's very much a thin end of a wedge. And
some people have said it could become like some people have said that this could become like an episode of Black Mirror.
Sorry, say that again, Steph. I've lost you a second.
A few people have said, I'm reading somewhere that someone said that this is all starting to look like an episode of Black Mirror. I don't know whether you've seen the TV show Black Mirror, but with the 2-tier society. Yeah.
I tell you what's really unusual as well. There's a very disparate group of people in Parliament that are objecting to this. I mean, it's an unusual situation, isn't it? When you've got the likes of Keir Starmer, Jeremy Corbyn, and members of the 1922 committee, like Graham Brady, who are all saying, you know, that this is a very, very slippery slope. I think Jeremy Corbyn referred to it as bullying and oppression. Keir Starmer called it un-British. And Graham Brady was maybe a little bit more gentle, but said that these are steps that are very much open to abuse. So, you know, it's not just my paranoia. We're seeing a lot of people really questioning whether, as I say, it's not practical, it's not necessary, and it's not moral. Why is it happening?
But the government is wanting to get the country back on its feet again, wanting to get people out there, get the economy moving again. Because, I mean, lockdown is starting to ease bit by bit. You'll have your bars opening next week, I'm guessing, won't you, April the 12th?
Well, we have 3 bars. We have 5 bars. We will get 3 of them open, but it's worth pointing out that we're actually opening to restricted hours because we are opening outside, and street cafe licences are limited, even with Leeds City Council's flexibility, where they've increased it for, I think, everybody in the city centre can go till midnight. That's still a big curtailment on our normal operating hours, and we're only operating to 20% of our normal capacity. So if you put that together, realistically, what we're doing is an exercise in damage limitation. There's no way that we're going to be profitable. All we're doing is seeking to minimise losses. And in some respects, we're really grateful to get our people back to it, because at least it means they're going to be earning 100% of their income rather than the 80% that they're getting on furlough. And it will be benefiting them in that they will actually have something to do. I know personally, the last couple of weeks where we've been planning and getting everything ready, it's been a much better mental place to be for me, where you can actually look forward and look to be doing something. But as I say, I don't see the justification. I don't see any rationale for it. I mean, if you are saying that they are necessary, are they necessary for all time, or is it we're going to have to have a whole new set of vaccines if a mutation comes along? And if that's the case, then are these passports going to fall away? Does that mean that my guests and my staff go to the back of the queue again, and that we're closing hospitality down for 6 months every year?
And what's the feeling like from your members of staff who will be checking these COVID passports?
Well, I'm hoping there won't be. They'll do what we ask them to do. We will do what is legally required of us, and we will make a damn good fist of it. We did that with track and trace. We did it with ensuring that people behaved in a responsible manner and observed social distancing. So, you know, these are professionals. They're proud of what they do. They're good at it, and they'll be glad to be getting back to work. So, yes, we will manage the situation if we have to.
Martin Greenhow is with us this afternoon. He has got 5 bars, 5 Mojo bars, of course, 3 which are opening next week. And we're just chatting about this so-called vaccine passport system, if it was brought in. You're, of course, connected to the hospitality system and community in Leeds. What's the feeling of other bar operators who you've spoken to about this?
It's a pretty mixed bag, to be fair. As I said before, there are a lot of people who, look, you've got to remember that hospitality has been on its knees for a year now. These are people that, I don't think I'm over-egging the pudding if I say that they're impoverished. You know, these are people who have, you know, been cashing in pensions, spending their life savings, borrowing vast sums of money to stay afloat. So, you know, there are certainly many amongst us who are just desperate to be open. And I understand that. But I think if you'd have asked them 12 months ago, where they hadn't been worn down by this, you know, war of attrition, if you like, was this something they thought was just? I think they would have had a very different answer from the one that they may give you now. I also know that there are, and I won't mention any names because it's not for me to out them, if you like, but I know there are others who share my viewpoint that this isn't something we should be doing. And it's not something the government should be asking us to do. But yeah, I suppose in many ways it's a little bit like society at large. We're quite polarised. There are those that are just desperate and those that are worried about where this takes us in the long run.
Well, next week, of course, next Monday, isn't it, when the next set of restrictions are loosened, I guess, really, aren't they, or eased, which is a better word, and you'll be open. But as you mentioned, only running at 20%, but at least you'll be open, which is the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what? As I said, we're very much looking forward to that. In Leeds, we've got Merrion Street, which with all the other operators. So we've got Verve and Mean-Eyed Cat, Zap, Manor Hatter, Yard and Coop. I don't want to miss anybody out and get into trouble. Roxy, of course, Roxy. Matt's a big friend of mine. We're all opening collaboratively. There's going to be a marquee over virtually the entire street. Sorry, Live Bar at the top. I knew I'd forget one. It's going to be a great experience. It's going to be very busy in a socially distanced sort of way. I say busy because we're very, very heavily booked. But it's going to be great to getting back to, I think, providing everybody with, a little bit of relief from the mundanity and the monotony that we've had for on and off for the last year. I know I'm kind of viewing it as it'll be great to get somebody else to make the drink and feed me rather than having to do it myself. And I think everybody will benefit from that.
Well, I can't wait to see you back open again, because that street is one of my favourite streets in the city. And as I've mentioned to you before, many nights in Mojo. I've said this, look, no bias or anything like that, but I've said this to you before. I've drunk in bars all around the world. There's nothing like Mojo's in Leeds. It is the greatest.
God bless you, Neil. That's very kind of you to say.
As it says above the top of your bar, music for the people.
Good times forever.
Exactly. Martin Greenhow from Mojo Rum Bars. Thank you so much, Martin, and great to have you back open next week. And thanks so much for taking the time to come on as well.
No problem. No problem.
Bless you. Take care.